Okay, hi, good day everyone. So today we'll be doing 2022 May, June, number 5. Let's read the question. It says the school nurse records the height of each of the 150 students in class A. So we know the total number of students in class A is 150, right? Who was vaccinated? The table shows the information. Now we know when they say 60, this age, this 80, it just means the height from 61. Well, don't jump. This means age is more than 60, but less than, but age is less than or equal to 80. So the range is from, they said more than 60, not equal to 60. So it's 61 to 80. Right? So that's the range here, 61 to 80. Same thing, this is 81 to 100. This is 101 to 120. This is 121 to 140. This is 141 to, I don't want to say 141. Anything that is more than 140, that could be 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4. Anything that is more than 140, right? 141 to 160. This one is 161 to 180. Right? That's the range. That's what they mean here. And they told you the number of students, that is the range from 60, more than 60 to 80 is 4 students, right? Then more than 80 to 100 is 20, more than 100 to 120 is 35, more than 120 to 140 is 67, more than 140 to 160 is 20 students, and more than 160 to 180 is 4, right? Then they said, complete the table below using the information to calculate an estimate of the mean height of students. Now, remember mean, and next word for mean is average, right? And we know that our formula for average was x is equals to the summation of f of x all over the summation of f. And we saw f is number of students and f of x is equal to this, right? Now we want to find the midpoint. The midpoint is the middle of your height. Height is x, so the middle of between 60 to 80. So your midpoint would have been 60 plus 80, all divided by 2 is equals to 70. Or you could just say the middle of 60 and 80 is 70. The middle of 80 and 100 is 90. The middle of 120 to 140 would have been 120 plus 140, all divided by 2 is equal to 130. So here is 130. Now, if we find out the value for x, f of x will be easy because we know f is 67 and x is 130. So it's 67 multiplied by 130, which is equal to 8,710. Now, as I said, the other thing, you're going to find the summation of, not x, sorry. You're going to find the summation of f. So they tell you what f is, the summation of f and the summation of f of x, meaning we're adding all these values together and all these values together. When you add this up, this is the total number of students. They gave you an idea what it is. The total number of students in class A was 150. But you can try it. When you add them all up, you are going to get 150. Right, and this here, f of x would be, you add 280 plus 1,800 plus 3,850 plus 8,710 plus 3,000 plus 680. When you add all of this, you are going to get 18320. Right, so these are my summations of f and my summations of f of x. You use a calculator. They ask you to estimate the mean height. Now, mean and average is the same thing, so we know that the formula for mean or average is the summation, not the summation. the average, that is this line above this means average, right? Would be the summation of f of x divided by the summation of f, which is 18,320 divided by 150, which is equal to 122.1, right? They said to one decimal place. So 122.1 to one decimal place. And that is your answer for this question. The next part of the question is in class B. So we know class A was 150 students, right? The mean height of students was 123.5, and the standard deviation, this is how far apart the difference between standard deviation is the difference, how far apart the difference is, right? Between the actual and the mean is 29.87. For class A, the standard deviation is 21.38. So the difference between our mean and standard deviation is much closer than the standard deviation. Not the standard deviation. The difference between our standard deviation and mean for our mean for class A was 122.1, right? So this is the mean was 122.1. Right? So they said using the information you are and your response in A, right? That is 122.1. Comment on the distribution of height on the students in both class A and class B. What you would say is the mean in class B is spread further apart in comparison to the mean in class B is spread further apart from the mean in in comparison to the mean in height of class A. Right? So what that basically means, we're comparing our mean to our standard deviation. So for A, the difference, if you look at the difference between 21 and 122, that is not a big difference. But if you look at the difference between our mean for 123.5, as the mean for class B, and the standard deviation was 29.87. If you look at the difference between those two, you can see that the mean in class B was spread further apart, right? In comparison to the mean for and height for class A. Both of them is for height. But yeah, so that's how this statement is 1 mark. So it just said that how that the difference between the mean and the standard deviation for class A and class B is spread further apart in class B in comparison to class A. And that is your answer. In this is part C. Complete the cumulative frequency table below using the information to construct the cumulative frequency curve on the page provided. That is this last page here, right? So they're saying that they gave us the cumulative frequency, and remember I was saying when you need to find out your cumulative frequency to get these values, you need your upper and lower, your upper class boundary. So basically, to get 4, this would have been 80, which is your highest, plus the lowest in your the second part, which was with 80 plus 80 divided by 2. So in my upper class boundary, I don't want to put boundary there, that's not. Class UNDARY would have been 80 plus 80 divided by 2, which is 80. Then 100 plus 100 divided by 2, this is 100. plus 110. So this is 120, this is 140, this is 160, this is 180. Right? They have no difference. It's 80. And before we had a difference, it was 81, but no, this is 80. Sorry. This would be your highest height plus your lowest height for the other boundary, all divided by 2. So 80 plus 80 divided by 2 would give you 80, right? And then 100 plus 100 divided by 2 is 100. 120 plus 120 would give, divided by 2 is 120. 140 plus 140 divided by 2 is 140. 160 plus 160 divided by 2 is 160. And then 180 plus 180, which would have been the next value, divided by 2 is 180. So that is my upper class boundary. So we're going to use these values here to find out my cumulative frequency. Right now, next, remember we were saying, right, what we usually do is to get your next cumulative frequency would have been this 4 plus this 20. So 20 plus 4 is equals to 24. Then this one would have been 24 plus my number of students, which is 35, is equal to 59 plus, so 59 plus 67 is equals to 126. Then 126 plus 20 is equal to 146. And then 146 plus 4 is equal to 150, right? If we're looking at my cumulative frequency and number of students, F is actually my frequency. F stands for frequency, okay? So my frequency is calculated by subtracting, my cumulative frequency is calculated by adding my value, my first cumulative frequency plus my frequency. So it would be, if it is for frequency 20, you would add my cumulative frequency before, which is 4, which is 20 plus 4. Then for 35, it would have been 35 plus my previous cumulative frequency. Then for 66 plus my previous cumulative frequency is 59. So 67 plus 59, then it would have been 20 plus my previous cumulative frequency, which is 126, and so forth and so forth. And that's how we got these two values. You didn't really need to use a graph, right? And then after we get this, then you're going to plot. Right, so we know if we look on our graph below, our cumulative frequency is our y-axis. Sorry, is our y-axis, yes, and our height is our x-axis. So we know our cumulative frequency is 59 and 146. So we're going to look for where 59 is. So the difference, the number of boxes from 0 to 10 is 5. So each small box is going to be equal to 2, right? If 5 spaces is equals to 10, then one space would be 10 divided by 5, which is equals to 2, right? So we are looking for the first value, which was 59. This is 50. We know this would be, this first box is 52, 54, 56, 58. So 59 is going to be right below 60. So you're going to look for 59, and then we're going to look, that is between 100 and 120. So when X was 120, that's our midpoint, right? Y was 59, so that is right here. Just gonna make a circle, right? And that is how you would plot this first point, 59 and then 120. Then the next one is 146. So when between my height of 140 to 160, we know that's 160. The upper class boundary is 160. Our cumulative frequency is 146. So our x-axis would be 160 and our y-axis would be 146. So you're going to look for 146. We know each space is 2. So this would be 142, 144, 146, and then we're going to go across, right? I'm going to see if I can use my ruler. Hold on. Right, so 146 is, this is 2, this is 4, this is 6, right? So somewhere here, and then we're going to look for 160, which was in this line. So I have it. That is 160 is here. That is right here. Right, and this is my next point, right? 146, 148, right? 146, and my x-axis is 160, right? And those are the points that I have to plot. So again, my upper class boundary, right, or the boundaries, that would be my height, and my cumulative frequency would be my y-axis. So the points that I would have to plot for this one would have been 120 is my x and 59 is my y. And this one would have been 160 and 146. Right? And this would be my values that I had to plot here. Yeah. Right? And that's what I plot. Sorry, it was the other way around. This is my x. Again, it would have been, yeah, so this is correct. And then 146 is my y. And 160 is my x. So these, again, those are the points that you would have to plot for this curve here. Right? And then you would use, this is going to be hard here, but you are going to use a graph, a normal pencil, and connect these lines as smoothly as possible. Please do not use a ruler. Right? This is a curved graph. If you try to use a ruler, you'll get wrong points. Right? So that is me plotting the points. The next part to ask is using your cumulative frequency curve to find the estimate of mean height, the mean height for a group of students. Right? Now, mean, this is the next, sorry, not mean, median is equals to n divided by 2, where n is equal to your total. So n is equal, in this case, n was 150. So this is 150 divided by 2 is equals to 75. And then they want the height. This is students. Remember, this is total students. So we cannot use students to create height automatically. So what you have to do is use a graph using the graph, right? You're going to do when the CF is equals to 75, the height is equal to, so I am going to look for 75 on my cumulative frequency curve, which was, we know that this right here, I don't know if you're seeing it, this line right here, I probably would mark it over. This line right here is 75. We're going to go across, right? And where it cut your cumulative frequency curve, we're going down. Right, so let's go down, going down here. So we see that when my cumulative frequency was 75, my height was 126. Right, so my median in height would be equal to 126 centimeters. And that is your answer. Now let's look at B. The probability that the student chosen at random would be taller than 130. So we are looking at, the values we are looking at is taller than 130. Right? So we are going to use our graph. when x was equal to 130, so we're going to look for 130 is there. So let me just draw a line. When x was 130, that's here, we're going to go straight up until we meet the curve that we drew. Let's just make this a little bit taller, right? And then we're going to go across on our y-axis. We see that the cumulative frequency when our height was 130 is 90. So we know that 90 students, right? So x is equals to 130, y would be equal to 90. So the number of students taller, they didn't ask you at 130, they said taller than 130. Taller than 130 would be equal to 150 students minus the 90 students that was 130, which is equal to, because the total is 150. So 150 minus 90 is equal to 60 students. So there are 60 students that is taller than, 130. And we know they ask you for probability. Probability is equal to your desired outcome, which is 60 students, divided by your total, which is equal to 60 divided by your total is 150. And when you divide this, you're going to get 2 over 5 or 0.4. So 2/5 or 0.4 would be your probability of students chosen at random that would be taller than 130 centimeters. All right, and that would be the end of number 5, May, June 2022.